Welcome to StonerCast, your official deep dive into Columbus Clingstones baseball. As the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, the Clingstones are building the future of baseball in the A, and we're here to bring you closer to it all. Get the inside look at what makes this team and this community so special. This is StonerCast. Here's your hosts, Ricky and Dave.
Hey, y'all, welcome in. It's StonerCast. We've got a great episode for you guys, planned for you guys today. As always, we're going to say it again. Look down there, mash those buttons, like, subscribe, and share. And we're going to continue bringing you incredible guests, epic guests, like the one we've got for you today. But for starters, I'm your host, Ricky Rogers, joined as always by my co-host, my good friend, and the nicest man in Pell City, Alabama, the one and only Dave Norris. Hey, Dave, welcome in.
Hey, Rick, what's up, man? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing great today. Got a real good episode for you.
Dude, I'm stoked. I can't wait. And we don't have a ton of time because our guest is actually working. So he's taking some time out of his schedule to get with us, and we're going to jump right into it. StonerCast, please welcome the voice of the Columbus Clingstones, the voice of StonerCast, the one that brings you into each and every episode, takes you out of each and every episode, the one and only Jack Johnson. Welcome, Jack.
Hey, I appreciate it, Ricky and Dave. This is really cool to be on the show now, finally. I feel like I've been a part of every show, but now more than, I guess, what people bargained for, right?
You're absolutely.
Yeah.
Jack is in Arizona. He's covering the Arizona Fall League. He's watching some of our Clingstones. He's seen some of them here and there. And, we'll get into some of that later. But, Jack, man, you called the final game of the season for the Clingstones back on September 14th on the road in Pensacola, which, as of the time of this interview, was exactly 7 weeks ago today. You've had a pretty busy offseason so far, including some pretty major life news. And if you want to share that, please do. But other than that, talk to us about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so, the season ended in Pensacola, and, what a magical ride it was. And it kind of felt like the curtain was coming down on an experience that, we'll never have again. We'll have plenty more baseball seasons in Columbus, but none will ever be like that first season, that inaugural season. All the memorable moments, all the new experiences we had. I think, it's always fun the second and third time around, especially, I don't know about you guys, but kind of when you watch a movie that you really love, the second or third time, you pick up on new things, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to. But, nothing will ever recreate that magic of the first time you were in the theaters, the first time you saw it, right? And that's kind of what it felt like to go through that inaugural season. And so after that, I drove back from Columbus, Georgia, to where I'm originally from in San Jose, and spent about a week there. And then after about a week and a half, I drove to the Arizona, Phoenix metro area. And then this is where I went to school at Arizona State. And so I've been broadcasting fall league games ever since. And then in the middle of that, I traveled to Chicago to surprise my girlfriend. She was about to run her 5th marathon, the Chicago Marathon, which is a world major, and we got engaged. And so it's already been a phenomenal off season, filled with, the people I love and the things I love. And, there's no place I'd rather be joining both of you gentlemen than at a ballpark. And that's where we are tonight. I'm in the booth at Scottsdale Stadium. We've got Scottsdale Scorpions against Peoria Javelinas coming up on MLB.com.
Awesome. Oh, cool. Very cool. Jack, you grew up in San Jose, California, like you said, and you attended Pioneer High School, where they didn't have a broadcast team until you put in a lot of work to start one. How were you able to convince school administrators to allow a student to run it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. We had some infrastructure that dated back not just years, but probably decades. And so when I was in high school, one of the best pieces of advice I'd ever received was from the radio broadcaster of the San Jose Sharks. His name's Dan Rusanowski. He's been a mentor of mine since I was really young. And I remember shadowing him when I was 9 years old. And as we were leaving the booth, he told me, he said, look, if you want to be a broadcaster, you've got to be very comfortable speaking in front of a large group of people. And I think your best way of doing that is to engross yourself in live theater. And I was 9 and my only interests were sports and race cars at the time. And I thought, live theater, that's not me. And then I got into it a little bit more through middle school and then through high school. I actually developed a strong passion for performing and, seeing the reactions of people and realizing kind of the overall joy and experience of performing in front of a live audience and getting their reactions. And so my theater teacher, his name was Steve Deeney, and he's a local radio legend in the Bay Area. And so in those days, we had a radio club and we had radio equipment to broadcast a game. We actually had a radio station, but it had been inactive for live sports for, I think, a really long time. And I talked to him, I think this was around my sophomore year. I started out playing football and then I injured both of my rotator cuffs. I thought this would be a good time to kind of make the switch into broadcasting. And so the first game I remember broadcasting that wasn't in front of my Xbox was my junior year of high school. It was a high school football game. And I mean, this range of the radio station probably extended to the parking lot, right? But it was still cool to just be on the air for the first time in my life. And so I had a couple of my friends join me as analysts. We had a great time. And I realized, man, this is the job for me if I can get into it. And so, I parlayed that into school and then wanted to get into pro ball as quick as I could. And I was super fortunate that my first job was in Gwinnett with the AAA club of the Braves.
Very cool.
So after high school, you head to Arizona State. You became a Sun Devil, a school that's got a rich history when it comes to turning out talented broadcasters. Al Michaels, Sean McDonough, to many voices currently across Major League Baseball. You came up through that same program, Jack, calling a wide variety of sports. What was that experience like for you? Not just learning the technical side of everything, but also kind of finding your own voice and style in a place that had insane tradition.
It's funny you mention that, Ricky, because when I decided I wanted to go to Arizona State, I think I was a junior in high school, and I just spent some time researching where the best broadcasters went to school. And I think we all agree, Al Michaels is one of the best to ever do it. And his versatility in calling football, World Series games. It's ironic because he's done more football, more baseball. He's done a little bit of NBA Finals, but his most famous call, the most iconic call, is a hockey game, right? And so I thought, for me, I always kind of wanted to be the most versatile and be comfortable in any situation that I was placed in or fortunate enough to be in. And I thought, well, if Al Michaels went to Arizona State, that's not too far from home. It's a short flight. You're also in a place where, we talk about the heat a lot, but during the school year, it's November right now. This is great weather. It's going to be high 70s tonight. And so it has a lot of access to major sports. Before the Coyotes moved, it had all 4 major sports teams, Waste Management Open. Right now, currently, the NASCAR championship race is going on at Phoenix Raceway. And so you had access to all these different sporting events and different things that you could get into. And that's not to mention that Arizona State's a Power 5 school in the Pac-12 at the time. And so you got to see great players. And I remember I called some really tremendous football games for our student radio station that involved Jaden Daniels, against Utah, the Utah team that went to the Rose Bowl, or later on that season, it was Jaden Daniels and the Sun Devils against Jackson Dart and the USC Trojans. And these guys have gone on to be stars in the NFC East, right? And in the NFL in general. And so those experiences, kind of shaped who I was as a broadcaster, learning, what it was like to be in big time positions, big time roles, and maybe roles that I wasn't ready for at the time, but you kind of learn and experience who you are.
Jack, while at Arizona State, you called a wide variety of sports, from baseball to lacrosse to water polo. Is there a particular sport where you learned the most about play-by-play fundamentals?
I think it was probably baseball, and that's why I've always really enjoyed baseball, because the broadcast relies so heavily on yourself because there is so much downtime and there's so many different directions that you can lead a broadcast. I think in football, basketball, some other sports like that, the game kind of does itself. But really, baseball gives you the opportunity to kind of flex your muscles, develop your skills, kind of test yourself in different environments of whether or not you've got the things that you think you have or the things that you're hoping to improve upon. So I always really love doing college baseball. The games are also a lot longer, especially in the pre-pitch clock era. And so you had a lot of time. You had a lot of time to try different things. And I think that was a great place for me to kind of learn my voice and my style.
So with the Clingstones, you're the broadcaster, you're the voice of, but you also serve as director of media relations. How do you approach building relationships with players and coaches, earning that trust so they're comfortable when you come to them to get a quote or whatever? But you're also the person that decides, what's going to be shared publicly and what stays behind the scenes. Is that a tough balance sometimes?
I don't think so. I think one of my favorite aspects of the job is those relationships with the staff and the players, and also kind of understanding first who they are as people, right? You have to have those relationships first so that every time you're approaching them, you're not approaching them with something that you need or the media needs, right? It's a lot of just regular conversations about how they're doing or the things that they're interested in. And I think a lot of the value in that comes out through the broadcast because you get to learn a lot more about who they are as people, what got them here, why they chose the path that they chose, or who they play for. And those things are all valuable in knowing who they are, not just as people, but that's expressed on the diamond as well. And so I feel like that makes me a stronger broadcaster. And also, we have such a strong media presence in the Columbus market. There is so much love and enthusiasm and interest in the Clingstones and baseball in general. And it's like we've always said, Columbus is a baseball town. This was proved many times over, but especially this past year. And so that enthusiasm, that's all you can ask for in my role is, to get these stories out to the public about these players, who they are. And, I think we did a very good job of that this year. I'm looking forward to continue to building on that in 2026 and beyond.
Well, fans hear your voice at the start of every game when, before first pitch is thrown and through the final pitch. What they're not seeing, though, is the amount of work that goes into you walking into the press box and calling a game. There's research, lineup prep, stat sheets, storylines, all that stuff. Can you walk us through what a typical game day looks like to you from start to finish and, when your day usually begins, what goes into preparing those notes and reports and, what do you do to make each broadcast so sharp and informative to people that are listening?
Yeah, so a typical home game probably starts around 9:30 for me. My first order of business is to print stat packs, is what they're called. And it's through this very nice tool that we all use called the MLB Research Portal. You can compile a list of stats. So for us, we have Southern League standings, Southern League schedule, everything on down to team splits, how they hit home and road, how they are against left versus right, how they've done over the last 10 games. And that's, very informative to not just our coaching staff or our players or the starting pitcher, but we also distribute that to the opposing team as well, whoever we're welcoming into town, whether that be Kevin Bowles, Montgomery, or Guillermo Quiroz in Birmingham. And we want them to have that same information as well. It's a courtesy that's extended to our coaches when we travel. And so that's how we approach it. And we've always approached it that way, even when I was in Quebec. So from there, if we have any roster moves, we'll make those updates to the roster. I normally get a text from Braves personnel. And, especially these days in minor league baseball and the Braves organization, we'll make a ton of moves. I think we made somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 60 to 70 this year. Some were, big moves. Sometimes we had 6 or 7 players going in different directions, whether it be, up to Gwinnett, up to Atlanta, maybe on the injured list, maybe going on rehab. And so managing all that, making sure rosters are up to date so we know who's on our team and who's on the field, making sure that other teams that we're welcoming in know who's on the field. From there, we'll take probably about 2.5 hours to work on game notes, which is basically all the information you could ever want on the Columbus Clingstones and the things that have happened, maybe over a recent stretch of time or maybe a longer stretch, like in the case of David McCabe. He was one of the hottest hitters in the second half of the season. So that was a continued piece of our game notes for a long time. And so from there, we'll print the game notes, make sure that our lineups are correct, distribute those to whoever needs it in the press box, make sure that everything, whether it be opposing rosters as well are up there. So any press that we have or scouts, we'll welcome a lot of scouts over the course of the season, opposing broadcasters, public address announcer Brian Thomas, an entire team that puts together our fantastic streaming productions in Columbus have all the information. So it's a lot of information. And then during the day, if there are any media requests to talk to any players, then I'll meet with those players. We'll set up a time. And so we'll handle those media requests as well, make sure that the media gets what they need while also making sure that the players are still getting their work done. And then around 6 p.m., I'll kind of settle into the booth if it's a 7:05 p.m. game, write out the lineups, do some last-minute preparation, talk to the opposing broadcaster, and then kind of think about the direction maybe I want to take this broadcast. If there's anything interesting I've learned over the day or over the past week, any good stories to share tonight that are fresh that maybe our audience wants to hear. And then, my favorite part is just doing the game. It's the same game. Normally we're going to have 27 outs, but there's always going to be something different, right? And so that's why you come to the yard. We played 135 games this year, and we saw 135 completely different games. And so those are always fun, new experiences. And being a small piece as part of the larger puzzle in Columbus and the person that gets to tell those stories, that's been one of the highlights of my entire career.
Jack, what was your favorite call in a Clingstones game so far? Any walk-offs, player milestones, or incredible plays that gave you the chills when you made the call?
Yeah, I thought, and this was kind of echoed around our clubhouse just in terms of a personal favorite moment, but Geraldo Quintero's grand slam, May 23rd against Montgomery, was a pretty special moment. It was a fireworks Friday, and as we know, I don't think there's a better fireworks show in all of minor league baseball than what we've got at Synovus Park. And so, it's a Friday night, weather's great, it's late May, you're going to get a great crowd on hand. We got a phenomenal crowd that night, really energetic. And, because of the fireworks, they're going to stay and they're going to be locked in. It was a close game. It was back and forth. We know Montgomery's a great club. I think they made the postseason in the Southern League 10 years running. We're this upstart team trying to make some noise, in a new location, moving from Mississippi last year. And, with 2 outs, bottom of the 8th, and here's Quintero, he's 5'5", right, against Jack Hartman, who had been, to that point, really unhittable in the Rays organization. And, when he hit it, Dave, I knew it was gone because when it left the bat, he just stood there. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have this reservoir of calls that I've really enjoyed over the course of my life that I've just kind of picked up and stashed somewhere. And so actually I said, it's as grand as it gets, right, for a grand slam, because I think that call deserves something a little bit more than, high drive right field, it's gone, and the Clingstones lead, right? And that was, the inspiration for that was actually, I'd watched a documentary on the Tiger Slam from 2000 to 2001 when Tiger Woods won 4 straight majors, and Jim Nantz' call was that same call in 2001 at the Masters when Tiger sinks the winning putt to win his 4th major championship in a row in his 2nd green jacket. He said, there it is. It's as grand as it gets. Tiger has his slam. And I thought that'd be really cool for a grand slam call, but you can't say it when, it's a grand slam, you're down 9-0. It's got to be saved for this moment. And I felt like that was a strong call. I was proud of it. And I thought that, the reaction of the crowd, you're just not going to get too many crowd pops like that in minor league baseball. So that was a personal highlight for me. We had so many great moments, especially at home this year, but that was probably the one that stands out.
This is the last question for me, and Dave's got one more after this. But before we move on to Dave's final question and fan submitted questions, when you think about the years ahead, the growth of the franchise, the development of the many players that'll come through Columbus, and developing your own role, what's your biggest goal for how fans will remember your voice and connection to the Clingstones?
That's a great question, Ricky, and it's something I've thought about over the course of the year. And obviously, I hope that people enjoy the calls, first off, enjoy the broadcast. But, more importantly, I've tried to make the broadcast booth an open space. I was fortunate that you joined me on a broadcast this year, Ricky, and Dave, I'd love to have you up there as well. And I wanted to make it not just, my space, but a community space. And so whether that be community leaders or congressmen or anyone that was involved with the Clingstones through partnerships, whether it be Realtree or law offices of Gary Bruce, having those voices be part of these broadcasts, this team, this community, that was a sincere highlight of mine that just kept repeating throughout the year. And so I hope that people enjoy the calls. I hope that people enjoy the broadcasts. I work as hard as I possibly can every day to bring sharp, informed broadcasts and entertaining broadcasts to people in the Chattahoochee Valley and friends and family, whether they be in different states, different countries around the world. And so those are the things that I try to focus on. And, I hope every day that I deliver up to those standards. But I'm certainly always working to perform up to those standards every day.
All right, Jack, here's one fun. Here is a fun one to finish out my questions for you. If you could have called any historic baseball moment from the past, be it yesterday or 125 years ago, what play would it be and why would you choose that one?
I think, there's been a lot of great ones that I would love to be a part of. And I know this is somewhat of a cop-out, but I'd love to be a part of the next one. We saw a great game last night. If I'm ever fortunate enough to be in a position to call a game like that to a national audience, I think that would be the highlight. And that's what we're always striving toward. And that next year, that's going to be the next great Clingstones moment.
I bet that was a fun game to call last night, the whole thing. All right. Well, as a fan-driven podcast, we want to include our audience in every episode that we do. We love having StonerCast fans send us questions for each guest. As a reminder, you can send questions to thestonercast@gmail.com, or you can comment on our guest announcement posts with questions for a specific guest. So, Jack, we got some questions for you from some fans. Kathy Gear, I hope I pronounced it that. Gear. Okay. Kathy Gear submitted via the Columbus Clingstones fans group on Facebook. What was your favorite road trip destination and your least favorite?
So I think I apologize. I'm choking myself up.
You're so excited to be here.
I know. I'm getting choked on. The emotion is taking me out. Yeah, it's all this dry air in the desert. No, I think we really enjoyed Knoxville. I thought it was a really nice walk through town. Yeah, it is. It's a great broadcast setup. Cubs are a phenomenal organization. So that was a really fun trip. It was graduation weekend, so there was a lot of good atmosphere in Knoxville and in Tennessee at the time. And so I think doing that in May was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going back there. I think we're there around the 4th of July next year. I don't know if we had a least favorite, really, honestly. All the towns are great. There's so much passion in the Southeast for baseball. So, yeah, viewing that through their lens and getting to meet every other broadcaster or every other manager and developing those relationships over the course of the year. That was a real highlight for me. Yeah, so I would say, Knoxville was probably near the top, or at the top based off of our first year experience. But, we'll go back next year and see what those towns have to offer. It's kind of like I said, we'll be there the third or fourth different time for me personally. And so you get to meet more people, have new experiences. And, we hope to see as many Clingstones fans as possible out on the road.
All right, our next one comes from Cal Collins, submitted via the Stoners Facebook group. Reflecting on your first season broadcasting with the Clingstones, what have been the most rewarding aspects of connecting with the Columbus community and building fan engagement for a new team?
Yeah, I think, and it's not just limited to me, but that was one of the real joys that we took out of this inaugural season was just the overall fan enthusiasm, the community enthusiasm, and seeing how much people supported the club, supported the players especially. And whether that was through season ticket holder events or, at the very end of the season, photo with the Clingstone Day, right? Or the jersey auctions. I see good stash behind Rickeya right there. And so, I think that's something that, I'll take whatever small slice of credit from my department, but it extends throughout the entire front office, right? Whether that be Scott Peretti and the ticket sales, or Michael Magwood as well on, having Julia Seabrook and group events, Pete Lavin, general manager, it starts with him, Amy Cecil, Olivia Crew. I mean, there's so many people that reach out to the community, engage fans, but also we've gotten a lot of buy-in from the community and fans as well. And so having that, that was probably one of the top experiences for us this year. And, we look to keep it going next year and in the years to come as well.
All right. We got a couple more for you. From Tyler Redmond via the Stoners Facebook group. What are your thoughts on local product Cole Mathis from the Cubs organization? Cole played and graduated from Harris County High School and has been playing in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, he's been awesome. We just saw him yesterday. He had a great game. He, up until last week, I think maybe the numbers may have updated, but he had the second longest home run in the Fall League. He had a 454-foot blast in Surprise. And so it's good to see Cole get healthy. I know his father, Sammy, who lives in Columbus, is a pastor in Columbus and former player in Columbus. And so, I think it was really cool that Cole got to play in Charleston this year where he went to school. But I think it's going to be really special when he gets up to AA, and hopefully he's with the Smokies when they travel to Columbus next year, because I think that'll be a really special homecoming. I hope he doesn't do too much damage to our great pitchers. But, I think that'll be a real special moment. And having a player as great as Cole, we know this, right? Cole's not the first great baseball player from Columbus, Georgia. There have been a lot over the years. And I think it's kind of goes back to your question about kind of what broadcast moment would I like to be a part of? I think there's so many legends that have been at Synovus Park or at Golden Park over the years. I think the ones that, we saw their careers, right? But right now, Synovus Park, that's the hallowed grounds of the next great legendary careers, whether they be from Columbus or from around the world. They're going to roll through Columbus, Georgia, right up against the Chattahoochee River. And we're going to get a chance to see them up close and personal, before they become the great stars of the game. And so we had a great century at Golden Park, and we're about to celebrate the 100th anniversary of phenomenal talent to come through there. But there's going to be another century, and there's going to be another, 100 players or so that are going to go perform incredible feats and become Hall of Famers down the line. And we're going to get a chance to see them. We saw them already this past year. We just don't really know yet, but they're going to be there next year and in the years to come.
That's right. Well, I got one more fan submitted question for you, and it is from J.R. Ritchie of Bainbridge Island, Washington. And J.R. where did Evan Ingram go to college?
He went to Ole Miss. That's good. That's good. He wouldn't know. Yeah, he wouldn't know. Unfortunately, I went a little too easy on JR, but we had this game during the year. I'm sure he may have explained a little bit about this. Is that we would just try to name NFL players and guess where they went to school, and that was a good way to entertain ourselves throughout the season. And so I thought this would be a really good way to kill some time during rain delays. And maybe we played it out a little bit because we do get a lot of rain delays in the Southeast, but it's about 15 minutes of a game show of JR and I guessing different NFL players and where they went to school. And Evan Ingram tied me up. I thought that was Texas A&M for sure, but no, he was on Ole Miss, and I won't forget that one now.
There was one that came in right at the deadline also. This one is from P. Lavin, and he wants to know, why doesn't Jack Johnson like peach?
Oh, the color?
To wear peach.
Right, yeah. No, Pete knows the answer to that. It's because I am peach. You can tell. I don't need to dress in peach. I go to work ready to go as a Clingstone myself. So, that's why we rolled with peach for the team picture this year. Hopefully we'll go with white or our black jerseys next year. That's a little more complimentary, someone with my hair color. But that's the look for me. So the color wheel is a little more limited when you have bright orange hair, but that's what we roll with.
As dad of a redhead, I agree. When we looked at jerseys to purchase in the orchard, he said, whatever one you're getting me, don't get peach. So,
right. Yeah. Well, he already knows. Yeah. I mean, it's going to keep going. We do well with forest greens, navy blue, white and black, and a little bit of gray.
Well, we are not going to tie Jack up with doing lightning round. What we're going to do is we're going to double his lightning round for his next appearance on StonerCast. He has got a Arizona Fall League game to call this evening, and we want him to be able to be prepared to bring as great of a broadcast as he can to that game, like he brings to you, our Columbus fans, for Clingstones games. So I'm going to save the questions for him for lightning round. Like I said, we'll double it on his next appearance here. But StonerCast, you've been given a treat. Thank you, Jack, for coming on and talking with us for this time. And man, we cannot wait until April.
Yeah, me neither. And it's been a real honor to be on with you guys. You guys have done a great job with this podcast so far. I look forward to the next time and that double lightning round. I'll be ready. I'll make sure I'll get some water beforehand.
When you see our guys in Arizona, tell them we're pulling for them. Wish them all the best of luck. That includes Jarvis, even though he's a striper now. Let them all know we're pulling for them, and to check their DMs.
I will for sure. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jack.
All right, go Stones.
Go Stones.
There it is, Dave. The voice of the Columbus Clingstones, the voice of StonerCast, the legend, Jack Johnson. Man, we're so blessed to be able to have him on for a few minutes. And we'll, like I said, we're gonna save those lightning round questions. We're gonna hit him with a double whammy next time we have him on, and we'll hope to have him on closer to next season. So, but man, can't thank him enough for coming on. You, as always, came prepared with incredible questions, and that's gonna do it for this episode of StonerCast.
Yes, sir.
We leave you the same way each and every time. There's only one way to end it. Go Stones.
Go Stones.
Thanks for tuning in to StonerCast, your inside look into Columbus Clingstones baseball. Please like, subscribe, and share to stay connected as we bring you closer to the Stones.